as men are facing a loneliness epidemic. In a recent study, 20% of guys said they didn't have any close friends, which means despite being connected like never before across the world, we as men are feeling more isolated than ever.
The most dangerous person in the world, we're producing millions of them, and that is a lonely, young, broke male.
So I just broke up with my ex of 5 years, and I literally have no complaints about her. Like, she was perfect, right? I used to didn't have a car. Now I have a car. But when I didn't have a car, she used to let me ride around in her car all day while she was at work. And I still didn't have a job. Now and it doesn't get any better than that. She used to pay for all the...
For the fellas, would you rather tell your feelings to a brick wall or to a woman?
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up.
In recent years, people have started paying closer attention to a growing and often hidden problem, and that problem is the loneliness that many men experience. While feeling lonely is something that all humans go through at some point, the unique challenges that men face with loneliness are not talked about enough. Society often expects men to be tough, unemotional, and self-reliant, and these traditional ideas about masculinity can make it very hard for men to open up about their struggles and also seek help, which leaves many people feel isolated or disconnected. This growing loneliness among men is not just a personal issue, it's become a very widespread social problem. The modern world, with its changing cultural trends, has added new layers of the issue. For example, the rise of certain online trends like the so-called alpha podcast.
To this is extreme, right? Like us saying that you shouldn't be negotiating sexuality with your wife is foreign to a lot of guys. It's like we're talking fucking Chinese to them or something. Like, hey bro, you shouldn't be negotiating hooking up with your wife. What do you mean? We have a deal. I take out the trash on Thursday, she has sex with me on Saturday. That's how relationships work. It's called a compromise. Dude, if you're having to use the word compromise with your wife, you already lost.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of thinking if I should add them in because I've spoken about them enough. I'm just tired of this set of delusional people or the smash or pass content. It often promotes unhealthy ideas about relationships, status, and also self-worth. These trends can make men feel even more disconnected as they encourage a focus on competition, superficial judgment, and also rigid expectations of what it means to be a successful man.
You accept that as a match?
You like white boys, huh?
Like I said, I like a mix of flavors. So.
Mix of flavors, okay.
Am I your type? I'll fuck with it.
Okay. Oh, we got our first match right here. Y'all stand back there because there are steals available, all right? So if y'all...
That being said, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Drew. Thank you so much for stopping by. On this channel, I just speak about what I want to speak about, whether trending or not. So if video essays or commentaries or deep dives or documentary are your cup of tea and you'd like to see me either tomorrow or next week, kindly like, comment, share, and subscribe. And that being said, let's get into the word for today. So the word for today says, the universe is yours to explore. The universe is yours to explore. And this is from my journal, the Manifest Your Vision journal. It's a guided journal and it's a complete guide to journaling. In my video last week, someone said I should show you guys what's inside my journal, and I'm going to show you guys what's inside my journal. This is going to be a more lengthy description of my journal so that you guys will know what you're getting. So if you do not want to watch it, I have a timestamp where you can just click on. So in my journal, it has law of attraction. So in the law of attraction page, we have 5 subsections. We have gratitude, we have release, we have manifestation, affirmation, and then when you flip the page over, we have scripting. What is scripting? I like to see scripting as a form of imagining your future self and just writing it down. It's a form of visualization, and I'm someone who believes in writing down what you believe in. One thing I love about scripting is that when you script your future, when it happens, you can can go back to your diary and literally look at what you scripted. So I have a whole page dedicated to scripting. Then after that, we go into the brain dump section. We have so many tabs that go on in our head almost every day, if not every day. So that is like in the evening after like a stressful day and you just want to distress and just have a good time and just like sleep peacefully. You could just write it down. Example, you could be like, dear diary, so today this is what happened. Or you could write it down in like words all over, because sometimes I do that if I don't have the energy to just sit down and just construct what has happened that day. The next section is the shadow work. And shadow work prompts, they are like this friendly whisper that guides you to explore the deeper layers of your thoughts and emotions. I like to see them as a section or an act of healing your inner child. We know like there are some traumas that you've experienced that you have not remembered or you cannot remember until somebody asks you those questions about your inner child. When I was in therapy, there were so many things and so many traumas that I had gone through that I had locked away without even realizing. And during therapy, these were things that were triggered by my therapist. It was not triggered in a way to make me feel bad, but in a way to explore my healing and make sure that I'm healing properly. And it's when she asked these questions that I remember so many scenarios, so many things that I'd been through as a child, and I broke down. I was like, oh my God, I forgot that actually happened to me. In every shadow work page, there is like a question that you have to answer, and it's just a pathway to healing, a pathway to answer questions that you don't even know that you had. So that's why shadow work prompts is very, very good. It's like this mini therapist that is just beside you, making sure that you're healing properly. And I have to say this, that my journal is not a substitute for medical appointments or medical solutions. It's just a guide to just help you, because even when you attend therapy, your therapist is going to tell you to journal, to document. She are going to give you assignments. So that's what literally my journal is about. So it's just a guide to just help you along the way. The work just helps to just wake up that your inner child, just to make you heal better and to answer questions that you may have forgotten. The next subsection is dream journaling. Me, I don't know about any other person, but if you know me, I'm someone who forgets my dreams. I forget my dreams a lot. I remember it in like the first like few minutes of when I wake up. That's why I have dream journaling section. And in this dream journaling section, it's not just you documenting your dreams. There are literally prompts that help you document your dreams well. For example, there are questions like the thoughts you have before sleep, your emotions before sleep. Have questions that make you document your dream properly. And then the last section which we have is the weekly reflection, and this is to be filled like once a week on the days you feel is your weekend. Like my end of the week is Sunday, some people's end of the week is Monday. So that's where you document your weekly reflection. In this weekly reflection, we have 5 subsections. We have like what drained your energy, what gave you energy, the themes that you got for that week, what goals are you setting for the next week. Actually, that is what my journal is about. My journal is not like just any journal. Yes, sometimes it can be time consuming. I personally, in as much as I love journaling, I do not journal every day because it's realistic. Prior to creating this type of journal, I used to buy like the normal dated journal. And when you buy those dated journal, when I miss a day, I feel like very, very guilty. I'm someone, I have high functioning ADHD. So there are some days I don't feel like journaling. So my journal is not dated. So it does not give you the pressure to journal. It's a very, very intentional journal. If you want to support me, it will really mean the world to me. Thank you so much. That's a lot that has been said. That being said, let's get straight into the video. Let's start with understanding male loneliness.
I'm so lonely.
Loneliness isn't just about being alone, it's also the feeling of being cut off or disconnected from others, whether that's emotional or socially. It's a deeply personal experience, and you can feel lonely in a crowded room or a family gathering, or even while you're chatting with people, while you're chatting with friends. It's not just about who is around you, it's more about whether you feel understood, whether you're connected, or whether you feel supported. While loneliness is something that everyone experiences at some point, men are particularly vulnerable to it, especially as they age. Research have shown that 1 in 3 men, they report feeling chronically lonely. This is a kind of long-term loneliness that doesn't go away very, very easily. The problem is even more common for certain groups of men, such as those who are older, who are single, or don't have close friends, or don't even experience intimate relationships.
Sexless young men, typically throughout history, throughout time, have been the group to worry about. So strongly associated with violence that we call it the young male syndrome in our field, that this has always been a huge problem. Now, throughout history, you had kind of cultural or social institutions to deal with your population of incels. So, for example, the monastery would be one for sure, give a high status position to kind of channel these extra guys into. You'd create Vikings out of them. The Vikings were likely incels, not the sexy kind of Netflix Vikings that you think from the TV shows. The Portuguese explorers, there's strong evidence that they were incels, basically sent on purpose missions to kind of basically get away from causing trouble around for everyone else.
Why does loneliness hit so hard on men? Part of this answer lies in the way that society has shaped how men are supposed to behave. For generations, men have been taught that independence and self-reliance are the ultimate goals. From a very young age, boys are encouraged to solve their own problems, to hide their own emotions, and just to tough it out. And while these traits can sometimes be strengths, they can also create barriers. Men may feel like they are failing if they admit that they are lonely or they ask for help. Cultural expectations also play a very significant role in the loneliness of men. Men are often told that showing vulnerability, like admitting that they are sad or they feel isolated, is a sign of weakness, and this leads many people to bottle up their emotions even when they are struggling. They may fear of being judged, being misunderstood, or even ridiculed if they open up about their feelings. Over time, the silence can turn into a habit, and this can make it harder and harder for people or for men to connect with others on a deeper level. We even see it in hip-hop. If a guy is being very emotional, they're like, oh, that's gay. They bring men down, and for some reason they try to label it as the black culture. Loneliness, like I said, is not just about emotions. It can have real consequences. It affects mental health, and it makes men more likely to struggle with depression and anxiety. It can take a toll on the physical health of these men, and it can also increase the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and other issues. The good news is that this cycle can be broken. Recognizing that loneliness is a shared human experience and not just a personal failure is the first step to recovery. And by challenging outdated ideas of masculinity and encouraging emotional openness, we can also help men build stronger, more meaningful relationships or connection. Everyone deserves to feel supported and understood, and breaking the stigma around loneliness is key to making that happen. Let's talk about why men deal or struggle with loneliness.
I got a reason to act like I'm lonely. I saw my big brother laid out with his brains blowed out, it's been catching up on me.
From the time that they are very little, boys, they often hear phrases like, boys don't cry or man up. And on the surface, these sayings might seem harmless or even well-meaning, but they send a very clear message. And the message that they send is that when you express your emotions, especially feelings like sadness or fear, that isn't something that boys do or men should do. And over time, these messages, they teach boys to hide their feelings and avoid opening up, even when they are hurting inside. For many men, this creates an internal struggles where they feel like they must appear strong and unaffected even when loneliness is taking a very heavy toll on them. And this reluctance to share feelings doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that's built up over years of being told that vulnerability is a sign of weakness. And there is this commentary YouTuber, I'm not going to mention her name, but if she's reporting on like celebrities and the celebrity is showing a sign of weakness, she will say things like bottom feeder or things like that, homophobic slurs. And I'm like, that's very disgusting, because this is what is adding to the perception that men cannot be vulnerable. And by the time that many of these men, they've reached adulthood, they have actually learned to keep their emotions bottled up. And this can create a cycle of isolation. When loneliness creeps in, instead of reaching out to a friend or seeking support, these men, they would rather withdraw further. Due to this, they will feel unsure of how to ask for help with without feeling judged. And on top of this, society also places immense pressure on men to fit into specific roles. They're expected to be like providers, protectors, and leaders, and they're expected to always have everything under control. While there's nothing wrong with being independent or taking responsibility or have people depend on you, these expectations, they make it very hard for men to focus on their emotional well-being. Building close supportive relationships or even admitting struggles might feel like it will go against what is expected of these men to be who they are or to like live up to society's expectations. For men who don't meet these rigid deals, whether due to unemployment, relationship struggles, or even personal challenges, the sense of not measuring up can lead to feelings of failure, shame, and deeper loneliness. Adding to this challenge is the way that the digital age has reshaped how people connect. Social media and messaging apps might make it feel very easier to stay in touch, but they don't always foster deep, meaningful relationship. It's very, very easy to feel connected on the surface. Like, for example, you like a friend's photo or maybe you're exchanging quick text. But again, these interactions, they rarely provide the kind of emotional support that these men truly, truly need. So, for example, men who are already very hesitant to follow up, this reliance on shallow online interaction can even make it harder for men to form genuine bonds. And also, let's not forget that we're in a world where technology brings us closer together. Even though we're in a world where technology brings us closer than ever before, there are still many men out there that feel they are more isolated than before. And this constant pressure to present the perfect image online, combined with the lack of face-to-face interaction, just leaves many people feeling very, very disconnected or alone. And breaking free from this loneliness, I'm not gonna lie, it requires rethinking societal norms, exploring and encouraging vulnerability, and also creating spaces where men can openly share their experiences without being judged or without being feared. Only then can we begin to tackle the deeper root of this growing problem.
For the fellas, would you rather tell your feelings to a brick wall or to a woman?
These men absolutely cannot stop telling on themselves, and at this point I think it's kind of hilarious. Now I love this previous creator's response to this video because so true. But I'm going to say it out loud. The male loneliness epidemic that we're facing right now is almost entirely self-inflicted. Because yeah, just like this previous creator said, boys will do anything to avoid talking about their feelings. Especially women, who will give them the most honest feedback. They will throw away like 24-year lifelong friendships just to avoid talking about their feelings and self-isolate. An interesting thing about this male loneliness epidemic is it specifically just talks about men and their friendships. Like, it's not even about dating and relationships. A lot of these surveys are surveying married men, and I see this all the time in my male friendships. And there are tons of people who have already done a deep dive into how they set up the patriarchy, right, for them to not feel masculine enough talking about their feelings. And of course, because of this, almost like half of men feel very unsatisfied with their friendships because they can't form close and fulfilling friendships. But most male friendships that I've lost in my time on this planet have been because they refuse to talk about their feelings and they'd rather just like block everyone and disappear from your life. I actually have 2 guy friends who have done that this week. They're saying they're going through a lot of mental health stuff right now, so they've just completely cut everyone off. Even though I'm like really concerned and beg them to talk to me about it, because that's concerning.
Now let's talk about the impact of emerging cultural trends. So here we're going to talk about the Alpha podcast and the Smash or Pass content. I'm genuinely tired of speaking about alpha male podcast people because they're very delusional and they just think that the world revolves around them. And most of these alpha male podcast people, they are people that have been involved in controversies and they just go to hide under the guise of alpha male podcast, and then at the end of the day, they're part of the right-wing community or society or political team. Like literally, those are the kind of people that they are. But anyways, let's just talk about them. So basically, with how today's world is more digitalized, there are certain cultural trends that are unintentionally deepening the problems of male loneliness. One prominent example is the alpha male podcast or the alpha podcast movement. And these podcasts are people that run this podcast, they claim to guide men towards success in self-improvement, dating life, and also social dominance. And the thing about this podcast is that they always come in after women, especially Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit is a a failing podcast that have refused to admit that they are really, really failing in life. They are a very, very scumbag of a podcast. Those two people, especially, is in Myron, that is his name. While these platforms often promote growth, they tend to present a one-dimensional view of masculinity that can be harmful in the long run.
Like women that you can manipulate into thinking that they're smaller or less worthy than you.
You're manipulating this conversation right now from the argument.
I'm not manipulating the conversation. I'm just saying, from a viewpoint, it seems like you like women that you can manipulate into thinking that you're the best thing that they've ever had in order for them to feel like that it's okay that he cheats on me because I've got a prize. Absolutely not.
That's a fact, though.
No, it's not a fact.
It is a fact.
It's not a fact.
It's a statistical fact.
Podcasts associated with figures like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson frequently emphasizes traditional ideas of manhood, urging men to focus on physical fitness, financial achievements, and dominance in their social life. And don't get me wrong, all these, they are positive, and although they are positive in certain contexts, the overarching messages often discourages emotional vulnerability and also openness. Men are told that toughness and self-reliance are ultimate virtues, leaving very little room for emotional connection or even seeking support. This mindset makes it harder for men to form meaningful relationships, increasing feelings of isolation in a world that increasingly values emotional intelligence and authentic connections. The narrow focus on success and status can also create unrealistic expectations, and men who don't meet these ideals may feel as though they are falling short of what is expected of them, which can then lead to insecurity or self-doubt. And the emphasis on winning through material wealth and through physical appearance or romantic conquest often results in a hollow sense of achievement without addressing deeper emotional needs. Many men, they just find themselves feeling even more disconnected and alone despite outward signs of success. Another troubling trend is the smash or pass, which has gained popularity on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And I can remember almost a year ago, I think it was like around March of last year, like literally almost a year ago, I put on my TikTok, let me look for that video. Honestly, this question has been in my mind throughout this day. Am I the only person who cringes at videos like smash or pass or pop the balloon, or like if you're walking in the mall, someone just comes to you, tries to do all these street interviews and like give me a 360 or say how many body counts have you had? Am I the only person that cringes at things like that? And again, I would be damned if I'm walking and someone comes to me and tells me give me a 360. That aside, I want to know the thought process that goes behind people deciding to put themselves in that position to be selected by men, if that makes sense. Like, what is going through your head that you're going to these spaces and expecting a rapper to pick you? Do you actually think the rapper is going to take you home or make you his wife? Honestly, because I don't understand how women, even men, will go and stand as an auction waiting to be picked by the highest bidder. Like, I don't get it. You're standing in line for a man to tell you why he wants you or not, and then if he doesn't want one person, be like, oh, I'm going home before you, and then you all are smiling. You all are smiling. Like, honestly, I just try to understand the thought process behind this. Is it the social media followings? How much are you getting paid? Because except you're getting paid like £5 million, I don't see a reason why women should go and stand there hoping to be picked or a balloon being popped when they do not want you. You need to do better. Oh my days. Anybody that does that, I have to go and check my vibration. Like, maybe there's something that is giving you the audacity to think that it can stop me to ask me all those questions. But anyways, in these videos, people, they publicly rate other people's physical attractiveness based on simple smash or pass. And like, when it comes to the case of smash, it's people that they can sleep with or they can date, or pass, people that they will not date or are not, conventionally pretty.
What's going on here? I'm gonna tear that up.
How old are you for real? Alright, can you be for real?
I'm dead serious. What's your credit score?
700.
What type of car you drive?
I don't even have a car right now, but I'm working on getting one.
360.
Oh!
Pass. Take her down.
Take her down.
Can I can do more than handle that. What you mean? I want them together for real. I smack both of y'all though.
Oh, man.
really on the boys' side. I'm not gonna smash none of y'all but you. I already said we smashed her when she walked in the door.
What we doing? We in the A. Is it? You married?
Yeah.
Box right here.
And again, they also involve like celebrities into this smash of pass. We've seen one with that baby, I've seen one with Offset. Like, these are the things that are perpetuating all these things, thinking that men are just these stoic figures that cannot get women in the more traditional or softer approach. You have to line women up as auction to degrade women just to pick who you can smash or pass. Is that what this world has come into? And while this might seem like harmless entertainment, which is not harmless entertainment, but people just watch it for the fun of it, people don't realize that entertainment or videos like this can reinforce a culture of objectification where people are judged entirely on their looks and are reduced to arbitrary standards of beauty. And for men, this trend just adds another layer of pressure. It reinforces the idea that their worth is tied to their appearance and social status, and those who do not meet these superficial standards may feel rejected or inadequate, and this leads to even a greater sense of loneliness and insecurity as many people struggle to find self-worth beyond surface level validation. Moreover, the constant comparison encouraged by social media fosters feelings of inadequacy, and seeing others receive praise for their appearance or popularity can leave men questioning their value and feeling increasingly disconnected from their peers. So what this cycle does, this cycle only amplifies the loneliness that has already been exacerbated by this trend. These trends, they often leave men chasing unattainable ideals while also neglecting their deeper needs for support, vulnerability, and genuine relationship. It's become so bad that if a man loves his wife and puts his wife first, it's called a CC. You're literally loving somebody, you're showing someone immense love, you're preparing and caring for your wife, and people are seeing it as a problem because they expect it to be so tough. That's literally how bad it's become. Addressing male loneliness requires challenging these harmful messages that has been spread across the whole world, especially on social media, especially on our phones, especially through platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And YouTube is more regulated on that. They don't take shit. YouTube don't take shit compared to like Instagram and TikTok. When we challenge this harmful message, we encourage a more balanced and compassionate understanding of what it means to thrive as a man. So now let's talk about the emotional and the psychological factors that lonely men face.
I need help cause I'm blinded. God give me direction.
A lot of autistic people are chronically lonely. We long for love in romantic or platonic ways, to share our interests with people, to feel as if someone sees us as passionately as we see them. It is often that we feel we are reminded in the presence of others by how different we are from them, and that can just make us feel lonely in itself. We feel as if there isn't the experience that we see others have between each other. That connection we see, it seems so effortless. So a lot of us do long to find that one person or group of people that can provide that sense of community for us, because so often we feel as if it is lacking from our lives, because it is so difficult for us to find due to the fact that we genuinely have such specific niche interests and ideas about what life is. I'm not afraid to admit that I feel lonely a lot of the time, and I think if we were more open about it with people and everyone spoke more openly about these things, it would be much easier for us to address that, because a lot of people hide their feelings. But if that's the case, how can we change this?
The psychological effects of male loneliness are both deep and they're also wide-reaching. So they affect not only the mind but also the body. So when a man feels lonely, it's more than just an emotional experience. It can also have serious mental consequences. Research has shown that loneliness is closely tied to conditions like depression, anxiety, and also high stress. Men who experience chronic loneliness are particularly vulnerable to traditional image of masculinity, which discourages them from expressing their feelings. Men often often feel like they need to remain stoic, they need to hide their emotions, and they need to not seek help when they need this help. And without healthy ways to cope with feelings of loneliness or sadness, these emotions can build up and they can also lead to mental health struggles. But loneliness isn't just as bad for a man's emotional well-being. It can also take a huge toll on his physical health. Studies have shown that people who are socially isolated, particularly older men, are more likely to develop serious health problems such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and their immune system just gets weaker day by day. The stress of loneliness itself is a contributing factor, but what makes the situation even worse is that men, especially older men, are less likely to seek medical help when they are not feeling well. And many men, they've been taught to be so reliant on themselves and they've been taught to be so tough, which if they decide to go to see the doctor, they don't think is necessary. So because of this, they just avoid seeing the doctor, or they just ignore potential health problems because everything is fine. This refusal to seek care or to engage in preventative health measures only worsens the physical impact of loneliness, and it creates a cycle of isolation and also deteriorates health. Another emotional factor driving male loneliness is the lack of strong social network. Men, they tend to have fewer close, intimate friendships compared to women, and when they do have friendships, they are often centered around shared activities or common interests like sport or maybe their work. And while friendships can be fun and fulfilling, they usually don't provide the emotional depth that men need, because many men, they struggle to talk openly about their feelings or their personal challenges with their friends, as emotional vulnerability can feel uncomfortable or even a taboo. So without the opportunity to discuss their emotions or struggles in a safe space, they may feel alone even when they're surrounded by people, and this will in the long run make it unable for them to truly connect or to lean on others for support. Now let's talk about the impact of relationship and family. Male loneliness is often deeply intertwined with romantic relationships and family life, where emotional isolation can be most intense. Studies have actually shown that single men are more likely to feel lonely than women, and this loneliness tends to grow stronger as they get older. One major reason is that men are often raised to see romantic relationships as their main source of emotional fulfillment, and this often leads to a sense of isolation. For many men, a romantic relationship is seen as the ultimate place to share their feelings and to find comfort. So without one, they can feel like they are missing an essential part of life. This sense of loneliness can be especially intense after a breakup or a divorce. Men often experience a greater emotional toll when a long-term relationship ends, particularly if they don't have the strong support system in place. Without close friends or family members to lean on, they may even feel more alone, especially if they are not used to talking openly about their emotions. The absence of a partner can leave a void, and without the tools to cope emotionally, men might struggle to process their feelings. The loneliness that comes after the end of a relationship can be very overwhelming and also very difficult to navigate on their own. Family dynamics also contributes to loneliness for many men, particularly fathers. And while having children can be a very joyful experience, it can also lead to feelings of isolation. The demanding nature of parenting, particularly in the early years, can limit opportunities for men to socialize or to take care of themselves. They may find it hard to connect with others because their focus is so strongly on raising children, paying bills, and keeping the household running that they neglect their own well-being. And in this moment, men can feel emotionally drained and disconnected, and they may be unable to find the time or the space to just express their feelings or to ask for support. And as men grow older, maintaining strong friendships can also become very, very challenging. The pressures of work, family, and other responsibilities often leave men little time for socializing, and many men, they find themselves losing touch with their close friends. All of these factors, whether from being single, whether they are experiencing a breakup, or whether they are struggling with family responsibilities, it contributes to the complex web of male loneliness. Should we talk about the potential solutions to address male loneliness? Because I feel like I've sprinkled it around this video here and there.
You are my sunshine,
my only sunshine. Tackling the issue of male loneliness, especially when they've grown older, is not something that's very, very easy. But again, even though it's not an easy feat, there are several ways that we can start to address the problem and also help men to feel more connected and supported in their lives. One of the first steps in combating male loneliness is to rethink the way that we define masculinity. For generations, society has pushed the idea that men should be stoic, they should be emotionally closed off. But this idea can just make men feel so isolated and prevent them from connecting with others on a deeper level. By encouraging men to embrace emotional openness, vulnerability, and the willingness to talk about their feelings, we can help break down the stigma that surrounds men's mental health. Programs or campaigns that teaches emotional literacy, empathy, and self-awareness can give men the tool that they need to understand their own emotions better and also build stronger and more meaningful connections with those around them. Okay, let's just scrap like maybe the programs I just mentioned. Even if it's on social media, on TikTok, speaking about it, just like I'm doing now. If a man watches it, like hopefully you've gotten something from here because you don't know who it can help. Another way to address loneliness is by focusing on the importance of male friendship. A lot of men, they struggle with feeling disconnected because their friendships often revolve around shared activities like watching sports, playing video games, or working together rather than deep emotional connections. And by encouraging men to form relationships where they can share their struggles, their joys, and their feelings without having this sense of judgment, we can help them build a much realer sense of belonging. Community organizations or male friendship groups, whether it could be in person or online, it can also provide a very safe space for men to meet others who are also looking for genuine connections. So often men are very, very shy from seeking help for their mental health because of the stigma that surrounds it. And this is where mental health services can come in because they are also a very critical piece in solving the problem of male loneliness. To combat this, we need to make mental health support more accessible and less intimidating. And this could mean increasing the availability of counseling services, therapy, or support groups where men can express their feelings and also gain the tools that they need to cope with loneliness. And again, sometimes I used to think when I bring all these solutions, especially when I mention like communities or mental health services should do this or do that, I'm like, do they really see my video? Do they really get it? Because I'm just one voice speaking, and do they really see my videos? Like, I'm just here in my room speaking, and hopefully someone sees my video and it gets out, because men, they just feel like they have to be tough. When men even do the simplest thing as skincare, they are seen as gay, they're called gay. They're like, men don't do skincare. What do you mean men don't do skincare? Don't they have skin? It's normal for a man to have so many breakouts and to look unkempt than him looking all put together. If he's looking all put together, if he dresses well, if he dresses nice, if he explores his fashion, he's being seen as gay. That's why some men are rather closed off than open. Finally, the role of family and workplace support cannot be overlooked because both family members and employers can play a very key part in helping men manage loneliness by creating spaces where men can openly express their emotions and also have their needs acknowledged. Encouraging work-life balance, offering mental health support in the workplace, and providing resources for fathers can help men feel like they have a support system that they can rely on. In families, counseling and even open discussions about emotional health can help create a more supportive home environment where men feel seen and heard. When men are empowered to express their emotions without fear of judgment, they are more likely to build a long-lasting relationship and also seek the support that they need. If you have a man today, just hug them and just tell them how much you love them and how much you're there, and be patient with them, because again, this is how they've been raised. How reducing male loneliness is a complex challenge, is one that we can address through empathy, education, and also social change. By encouraging deeper emotional connections and also fostering environments where men feel safe to share their feelings, we can take significant steps towards creating a society where no man feels alone in his struggles. In the end, by supporting men in their emotional journeys, we can help break the cycle of loneliness and also build a more connected and compassionate world for everyone.